Imagine this, you're running a race, but instead of looking ahead, you're constantly turning your head to see where everyone else is. What happens? You slow down, you lose focus, and eventually you trip. This is exactly what happens when you spend your time worrying about what others are doing instead of focusing on yourself. We live in a world where comparison is the easiest trap to fall into. Social media, career paths, relationships. Everyone seems to be ahead, doing better, achieving more. But here's the truth. You're not behind, you're just distracted. The real question isn't how do I catch up? It's how do I become better than I was yesterday? Now, let's talk about how you can do just that. We live in a world where competition is everywhere. From the moment we wake up, we are bombarded with metrics, followers, salaries, promotions, achievements, constantly measuring where we stand against others. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that success is about outrunning someone else, about proving that we are better, faster, or smarter. But the truth is, the only person you are truly competing against, think about it, every person you compare yourself to has a different background, a different starting point, a different set of skills, opportunities, and challenges. No two journeys are the same. Yet we convince ourselves that if we just work harder, move faster, and do more than the person next to us, we will win. But win what? There is no finish line in life, no universal scoreboard where we rank against others. The only meaningful measure of success is progress. Your progress. If you want real growth, stop chasing someone else's path and start focusing on your own. You are not here to outdo someone else's success story. You are here to write your own. And that means the only question you should be asking is, am I better than I was yesterday? That is the only race that matters. It's easy to get distracted by external competition. You see someone achieving something you want, and suddenly you feel like you are behind. But behind who? There is no set timeline for success. The person you admire today had their own struggles yesterday. The person ahead of you in one area of life might be struggling in another. Comparison is a false game because it never tells the whole story. It tricks you into believing that you are not enough, that you are somehow falling short. And that mindset is exactly what keeps people stuck. True competitors don't waste time looking sideways. They are too busy looking forward. They focus on refining their skills, improving their habits, and developing their strengths. They understand that every day is a new chance to be a little bit better than before. And that's what makes the difference. Not being the best in the world, but being the best version of yourself. But here's where it gets hard. Self-competition requires honesty. It's easy to compare yourself to others because it allows you to make excuses. They had more opportunities, they started before me, they have advantages I don't. But when you compete with yourself, there is no one else to blame. It forces you to take full responsibility for your own growth. You have to be honest about your weaknesses, your habits, and your level of effort. And that level of self-awareness, that's what leads to real progress. The truth is, no one else is standing in your way. No one else determines your success or failure. The only battle that matters is the one between who you are today and who you have the potential to become. The version of you that shows up, that puts in the work, that refuses to settle. That's the only competitor you should be chasing. Every day, you wake up with a set amount of energy. Think of it like a bank account. You start with a certain balance, and every decision you make is a withdrawal. Every conversation, every task, every worry, every distraction, it all takes a little bit away from your account. And just like money, if you're not careful about where you're spending it, you'll find yourself empty before the day is even over. Most people don't realize this. They go through life throwing their energy at everything, arguing over things that don't matter, stressing over things they can't control, chasing approval from people who don't even care. And then they wonder why they feel exhausted, drained, and unmotivated? The answer is simple. They are spending their energy on the wrong things. There is a difference between being busy and being productive. Some people are constantly moving, constantly doing, constantly engaged, but they're not getting anywhere. They're like a car spinning its wheels in the mud, burning fuel, making noise, but stuck in the same place. Why? Because they are investing their energy into distractions instead of progress. The question isn't, am I doing a lot? The question is, am I doing what actually matters? And this is where most people go wrong. They believe that time is their most valuable asset. It's not. Time is important, yes, but it's energy that determines what you actually do with that time. You can have an entire day free, but if your energy is drained, you won't accomplish anything meaningful. You'll sit there, scrolling through your phone, procrastinating, telling yourself you'll start later, but later never comes, because energy, once depleted, doesn't just refill itself. Think about the last time you were deeply focused, fully engaged, completely locked in on something important. It felt effortless, didn't it? You weren't checking your phone every 5 minutes. You weren't distracted by meaningless noise. You were present. That is the power of properly managed energy. When you direct it toward the right things, everything changes. But when you let it leak into unnecessary stress, comparison, and distractions, you are robbing yourself of that power. Your energy is being drained in ways you don't even realize. Every time you worry about what someone else thinks, that's energy lost. Every time you replay a past mistake, instead of learning from it and moving on, that's energy lost. Every time you try to control something that is out of your hands, that's energy lost. And energy lost is growth lost. The problem isn't that you don't have enough time. The problem is that you're wasting the energy you do have on things that don't serve you. And then there's mental clutter. Your mind is constantly processing information, making decisions, reacting to stimuli. If you don't take control of what you allow into your mind, you'll end up exhausted without even knowing why. Negativity is one of the biggest thieves of energy. Toxic people, unnecessary arguments, endless complaints, they drain you. They leave you depleted before you even get a chance to focus on what actually matters. The solution? Awareness. You need to become intentional about where your energy is going. Imagine if you treated your energy like money. Would you spend it on things that don't bring value? Would you give it away carelessly without thinking? No. You would protect it, invest it wisely, make sure every bit of it is going towards something that brings a return. Your energy works the same way. It needs to be managed, protected, and directed with purpose. We are conditioned to celebrate big achievements. The promotion, the degree, the award, the recognition. Society glorifies the final product, the grand success story, the highlight reel. But what no one talks about is the process. The small, seemingly insignificant moments that actually build that success. The early mornings, the extra effort, the discipline when no one is watching. That's where real progress happens. Most people don't realize this, and that's why they quit. They start something new and they expect immediate results. They want the transformation without the struggle, the reward without the patience. And when they don't see instant success, they assume they've failed. But success isn't about one big leap. It's about the accumulation of small wins over time. Think about a massive tree. It didn't just appear overnight. It started as a tiny seed planted in the ground. Every day, that seed absorbed sunlight, water, and nutrients. You couldn't see it growing, not at first. But slowly, beneath the surface, the roots were taking hold. Day by day, the tree strengthened, and one day, seemingly out of nowhere, it stood tall. But it wasn't out of nowhere. It was the result of countless tiny moments of growth. The countless, at times. This is how progress works. You don't see the change while it's happening. It's easy to feel like your effort is pointless, like you're stuck in place. But every action you take, every workout, every page you read, every extra hour of work, every time you choose discipline over comfort, it all adds up. The results may not be visible yet, but that doesn't mean they aren't happening. The mistake most people make is dismissing small wins as unimportant. They believe that if it's not a massive step forward, it doesn't matter. But that's not true. Small wins build confidence. They create momentum. They prove to you that you are capable of progress, even if it's just a little bit at a time. And momentum is everything. When you focus on making tiny improvements, those improvements compound. And over time, they lead to massive transformation. Consider an athlete training for a competition. They don't wake up one day and suddenly break records. They train every single day, pushing themselves slightly further than the day before. Maybe they lift an extra pound. Maybe they shave half a second off their time. Maybe they improve their technique by just 1%. These improvements seem minor in the moment, but over time, they make all the difference. The same applies to any area of life. If you want to build a business, it won't happen overnight. But sending one email today, making one connection tomorrow, improving one small system next week, these tiny steps, repeated consistently, create something big. If you want to become healthier, you don't need to overhaul your entire lifestyle in one day. You just need to start small. One healthy meal, one extra glass of water, one more minute of exercise. These small changes, when repeated, create habits. And habits shape your future. But here's the challenge. Small wins are easy to ignore because they don't feel significant. They don't give you the instant gratification that big achievements do. This is why so many people quit before they see results. They think that if they can't see progress immediately, it must not be working. But the truth is, every small step is a deposit into your future success. Every small action is proof that you are moving forward. It's not about doing everything at once, it's about doing something. Something small, something manageable, something that keeps you in motion. Because success isn't a giant leap. It's a series of small steps taken consistently that lead to something extraordinary. From the time we are young, we are taught to seek approval. We are praised when we follow the rules, rewarded when we achieve, and conditioned to believe that our worth is tied to how others see us. Over time, this need for validation becomes ingrained in us. We start measuring our success, our happiness, and even our identity based on external feedback. It starts small, grades in school, applause from a crowd, a pat on the back from a mentor. But as we grow older, it takes on new forms. It turns into social media likes, job titles, promotions, and the admiration of peers. The more we get, the more we crave. The validation becomes addictive, like a drug that keeps us coming back for more. And without realizing it, we start living for the approval of others rather than for ourselves. The problem with external validation is that it puts your sense of self-worth in someone else's hands. It means that your confidence, your happiness, and your motivation are all dependent on factors you can't control. And that is a dangerous way to live. Because when you rely on others to tell you that you're doing well, you give them the power to tell you that you're failing. When your self-worth is based on external praise, even the slightest criticism can shake you. And here's the truth. You will never please everyone. No matter how hard you try, no matter what you achieve, there will always be someone who doesn't approve. There will always be critics, doubters, and people who don't understand your path. If you spend your life chasing validation, you will never feel truly fulfilled. Because the goalpost will always move, the applause will always fade, and once it's gone, you'll be left searching for the next thing to make you feel worthy again. Detaching from external validation doesn't mean you stop caring about feedback altogether. It doesn't mean you ignore constructive criticism or refuse to improve. What it means is that your value is not determined by how others see you. It means that you set your own standards for success, rather than letting society define them for you. It means that your confidence comes from within, not from external approval. Think about how much energy you spend worrying about what others think. How often do you hesitate before making a decision, afraid of being judged? How many opportunities have you passed up because you were worried about how you would be perceived? The fear of judgment is one of the biggest killers of potential. It keeps people stuck, afraid to take risks, afraid to stand out, afraid to be different. But the most successful, fulfilled people are the ones who learn to silence that noise. They don't waste time seeking permission to be who they are. They don't wait for approval before taking action. They trust themselves. The most ironic thing about external validation is that the more you chase it, the less satisfied you feel. Because even when you get it, it never feels like enough. You might receive praise for something you've done, but soon after, the high fades, and you start looking for the next dose of approval. It's a never-ending cycle that leaves you exhausted, constantly seeking, never feeling truly secure in yourself. But when you detach, everything changes. When you stop needing validation, you gain freedom. Freedom to make decisions based on what you want, not what others expect. Freedom to pursue your passions without fear of judgment. Freedom to define success on your own terms. And that kind of freedom, that's what leads to real fulfillment. We live in a world that values money, status, and possessions. People spend their entire lives chasing wealth, climbing ladders, and accumulating things they believe will bring them happiness. But in the process, they overlook the most valuable resource they have: time. Unlike money, time cannot be earned back. Unlike possessions, it cannot be replaced. Once it's gone forever. Yet, most people act as if they have an unlimited supply of it. They waste hours scrolling through social media, caught in mindless distractions. They spend years in jobs they hate, in relationships that drain them, in routines that bring them no joy. They tell themselves that they'll start living later, after the next promotion, after they retire, after they reach some imaginary milestone that makes life worth it. But later is never guaranteed. The future is uncertain, and every second that passes is a second you will never get back. Imagine for a moment that every morning you were given $86,400. The catch? Whatever you don't spend by the end of the day disappears. You can't save it, you can't get it back, and you can't carry it over to tomorrow. How would you use that money? You would probably be intentional, making sure that every dollar was spent on something valuable, something meaningful. Now think about this. Every day, you are given 8, 6, 4, 0, 0 seconds. And just like that money, any second you don't use wisely is gone forever. The difference? Most people treat money as precious and time as disposable. But time is the real currency. You can always make more money, but you will never make more time. And yet, people spend it so carelessly. They trade hours for meaningless distractions. They waste days procrastinating on things that matter. They spend years in situations that don't align with who they want to be. They put off their dreams, thinking they have plenty of time. But time is the one thing you don't have plenty of. You just assume you do, until one day you look back and realize how much of it you've lost. Time is what defines the quality of your life. It determines how much you experience, how much you grow, how much impact you make. Every major decision you make, where you work, who you spend your time with, what you prioritize, ultimately a decision about how you spend your time. And yet, people make these choices without thinking about the cost. They stay in unfulfilling situations because it's comfortable. They waste hours on things that don't contribute to their goals. They let distractions steal the moments that could have been used for something meaningful. And here's the harsh truth. Time doesn't care how you use it. It moves forward, whether you use it wisely or waste it. It doesn't stop for anyone. It doesn't slow down because you're not ready. It doesn't pause to let you catch up. And the scariest part? You don't get a second chance. But most people don't realize this until it's too late. They live as if they are immortal, as if they have an infinite amount of time left. They assume they can always start tomorrow, that they can always fix things later. But later is never promised. The people who understand this don't wait. They don't waste time on things that don't matter. They don't spend their lives waiting for the right moment. They act, they prioritize, they make every second count. Every moment of your life is a choice. You can choose to use your time on things that bring you growth, fulfillment, and purpose, or you can choose to waste it on things that don't. But make no mistake, how you spend your time is how you spend your life. At the end of the day, life is not measured by the money you make, the possessions you own, or the approval you receive from others. It is measured by how you spend your time, how much energy you invest in things that truly matter, and how much progress you make toward becoming the best version of yourself. Your greatest competition is not the person next to you, it's who you were yesterday. Your energy is limited, and wasting it on things that drain you only keeps you from moving forward. Small wins may seem insignificant in the moment, but they compound over time, shaping the future you build. And above all, the need for external validation will only keep you trapped in a cycle of seeking approval rather than fulfillment. The moment you detach from it, you take back control of your own life. Time is the only currency that truly matters, and every second you spend is an investment in your future. You don't get to save it, you don't get to rewind it, and you don't get a second chance to use it differently. The only choice you have is how you spend it right now. So focus on what matters, spend your time wisely, invest in yourself. Because in the end, the only thing that will truly define your life is how well you used the time you were given. You're just a waste of time when you've given it